You've eaten cow, you've eaten pig, you've eaten chicken, fish, deer, even alligator if you were feeling brave. But you have never, not once in your entire life, eaten lion or wolf or eagle. And it isn't because you never had the chance. Every culture on every continent, developing separately for 10,000 years, arrived at the exact same rule. Never eat the predator. That sounds like a coincidence. It isn't. The real reason is stranger than any food taboo you've ever heard of, and it starts inside the muscle of the animal itself, in a place no ancient human could see, but every ancient human learned to fear. Picture a wolf mid-hunt, heart slamming, muscles flooded with stress hormones. Every ounce of that animal's body is burning fuel just to stay alive for the next 10 seconds. Now, picture a cow in a field, chewing grass, calm, doing nothing but existing and turning sunlight into fat. These two animals could not be more different, and your body can taste it. The wolf's muscle is soaked in adrenaline and cortisol, chemicals that turn meat bitter, tough, and strange on the tongue. The cow's muscle is soft, mild, and clean. You didn't learn to prefer one over the other. You inherited it. But taste is only the beginning. Here's where it gets darker. Every time energy moves up a food chain, most of it disappears. A plant captures sunlight. A deer eats the plant and keeps only a fraction of that energy. A wolf eats the deer and keeps only a fraction of that. By the time you reach a predator like a wolf, roughly 90% of the original energy is already gone, burned up just getting there. So when you eat a predator, you're eating an animal that already spent its whole life spending calories to catch other animals. You're eating the leftovers of leftovers. Nutritionally, it's almost not worth it. Your ancestors didn't need a lab to figure that out. Hunger taught them. And hunger wasn't even the biggest danger. Something far worse was hiding in that meat. Something you couldn't see, smell, or cook away. Toxins. Every time one animal eats another, whatever poison was in the prey gets passed up the chain and it doesn't get diluted. It gets concentrated. Scientists call this biomagnification, and it is exactly as terrifying as it sounds. A fish absorbs a small amount of mercury from its environment. A bigger fish eats 100 of those small fish and inherits all of their mercury at once. A predator at the very top of the chain, like a shark, a seal-eating bear, or a bird of prey, can carry a toxic load thousands of times higher than anything found in the plants or grass eaters below it. Every predator is a walking archive of every poison its prey ever touched. There is one case so extreme it reads like a horror story, and it's completely true. Arctic explorers in the 18 and 1900s occasionally ate polar bear liver when food ran low. Within hours, they would develop blinding headaches, nausea, peeling skin, and in some cases, they died. The liver of a polar bear stores such an extreme concentration of vitamin A, built up from a lifetime of eating vitamin A-rich seals, that a single meal could contain more than 100 times the safe amount for a human being. One organ, one meal, enough toxic overload to kill a grown man. Indigenous Arctic hunters had known this for centuries. They fed polar bear liver to their dogs, never to their families. How many other silent warnings like that do you think got passed down quietly without ever needing a scientific explanation? And the polar bear isn't even the only predator hiding this kind of trap. Husky sled dogs that ate too much seal liver on long expeditions showed the same symptoms. Arctic foxes carry dangerously high vitamin A levels in their livers too, for the exact same reason. They eat animals that eat animals, and every layer up the chain, the concentration gets worse. It's almost like the food chain itself built a punishment into its top rung. A silent penalty for anything, human or otherwise, that tries to skip past the safe, low-toxin animals near the bottom. Would you have known to avoid that organ if nobody had ever told you? Or would you have found out the same way those explorers did? Then there's the threat that doesn't show up in a single meal, but builds over an entire lifetime. Disease. Predators don't just eat other animals. They fight them. They get bitten, scratched, and infected in the process. Their bodies become breeding grounds for parasites and pathogens that evolved specifically to survive inside a predator's gut, because that's where their life cycle depends on ending up. Trichinosis, a parasitic infection that can cause muscle pain, swelling, and organ failure, is far more common in the meat of predators and scavengers like bears and wildcats than in plant-eating animals. Why? Because a lion doesn't just hunt zebras. It also fights off hyenas, eats already rotting carrion when prey is scarce, and lives in near constant contact with infected blood and open wounds. Every one of those encounters is a chance for something dangerous to move into its flesh and wait there, patiently, for the next set of teeth. Now, stretch that idea out across an entire lifetime. A grass eating animal like a deer spends its whole existence eating clean, unmoving plants. Almost nothing gets the chance to infect it beyond its own environment. A predator spends its whole existence in violent, bloody contact with dozens of other animals, some sick, some already dying, some carrying parasites that specifically evolved to wait inside muscle tissue until a bigger predator or a hungry human comes along and finishes the job for them. The parasite doesn't want the lion. It wants whatever eats the lion next. That's you. That was always the plan. Here's something even stranger. This same pattern shows up in animals that have never met a human, never read a book, never heard a single word of advice passed down. Wolves themselves rarely eat other wolves, even when starving. Big cats generally avoid the meat of other big cats. Across the animal kingdom, apex predators tend to leave other apex predators alone, almost as if every hunter on some level already knows what's waiting inside another hunter's body. If the animals doing the hunting instinctively avoid eating each other, what does that tell you about how deep this warning actually runs? It isn't a human idea at all. It's older than humans. We didn't invent the rule, we just inherited it, the same way every predator before us did. So think about what your ancestors were actually up against. Bitter, tough meat, a fraction of the nutrition, concentrated poison, hidden parasites, and on top of all of that, one final problem, maybe the most dangerous one of all. To eat a predator, you first have to catch it. And predators do not go quietly. A deer runs, a rabbit flees, but a wolf, a bear, or a big cat turns and fights back, and it fights with claws and teeth built for exactly that purpose. Early humans who tried to hunt apex predators for food were choosing the single most dangerous, least rewarding meal available to them. Low nutrition, high poison, high infection risk, high chance of dying in the attempt. Every incentive pointed the same direction: leave the predator alone. Over thousands of generations, across populations that never met, never spoke the same language, and never shared a single idea between them, the same conclusion kept forming independently again and again. Don't eat the thing that eats other things. It became instinct. It became disgust. It became taboo long before anyone could explain why, because the humans who felt that instinct survived, and the ones who ignored it didn't get the chance to pass anything down at all. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You still carry this rule today, and you've probably never noticed it. Think about the last time something felt vaguely wrong to eat, even if you couldn't say exactly why. Think about your reaction to lion meat, or dog meat, or the flesh of any animal that hunts for a living. That flicker of discomfort isn't culture. It isn't squeamishness you picked up from a movie. It's a warning system, tens of thousands of years old, still quietly running in the background of your mind, still doing its job. You think you're making a choice. You're actually following an inheritance. And it doesn't stop at food. Look at how you treat trust in everyday life. You extend it easily to people who seem steady, calm, low risk, people who remind you, on some unconscious level, of the cow in the field. But you tense up around anyone who feels unpredictable, anyone who feels like they might strike without warning. You don't consciously decide that. Something older in you decides it first, and your conscious mind just catches up afterward with a reason that sounds logical. That's not a coincidence either. It's the exact same ancient filter, repurposed. Once it kept you from eating something that would poison you. Now it quietly shapes who you let close and who you keep at arm's length without you ever realizing the rule is still running. Think about the last time you met someone and instantly felt uneasy before they had even said a word. No evidence. No reason you could point to. Just a feeling. That feeling is the same machinery. For most of human history, the difference between a calm grazer and a hidden predator wasn't philosophical, it was medical. Get it wrong, and you didn't just lose an argument. You lost your life. So the system that reads people today is running on hardware built for reading animals, and it still doesn't distinguish perfectly between the two. It just knows one thing. Something calm is probably safe. Something that hunts is probably not. And it makes that call in less time than it takes you to blink. So next time you sit down to eat and you don't reach for lion or wolf or eagle, understand what's actually happening. You're not choosing that. You're remembering it in the oldest language your body knows, a language written by every ancestor who almost didn't make it and passed down unbroken until it reached you. You've eaten cow, pig, chicken, fish, and deer, but you have never eaten a predator, and somewhere inside you, a warning that outlived 10,000 years of history is the reason why.